Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Warp Zone, episode 5, our weekly gaming news podcast, where we take a look at what's happening in the world of gaming with a heavy focus on Nintendo. And this week, you know what? For the first time since we've started this podcast, I'm not going to say it's a quiet week because there's a lot of things happening, but for the first time, there was no major, crazy surprises. And I think for the first time, the show might actually fit into the time frame I've wanted for this show, which is around an hour and a half. So we actually might get there this week. We actually might manage to get the content within the time frame we set. But you know me, if we go off on a subject and it takes longer than needed, we'll stay here till we've seen what we want to see. So hopefully everyone's going to get in here soon. I know a few of you are. Hey Grovel, hey Swirl, how you guys doing tonight? Don't forget to say hi to me in the chat. Don't forget to hit the like button as you come in to make sure that the stream is sent out to more people. And we're going to have some fun tonight because we've got some great stuff to go over. Number one, we have a new Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom trailer that dropped this week. It's a 5.5-minute long trailer. We have a lot of gameplay reveals in there. And unfortunately, however, it comes with a little bit of sad news because my prediction is becoming less and less likely. But we'll go over that when we take a look at the trailer. Don't want to get too far into that. Hey, Gunmetal Otaku. Hey, Nanaki. Welcome, guys. Welcome. After that, we also got an official Zelda Timeline from Nintendo, which has some weird placement on it, in my opinion, but we'll still take a look at it. Some of this stuff was known before, some of this stuff is not. They did a major new reveal in that, but I do have one major question for everyone out there as well after we look at the timeline, because I find it weird that they just showed up with a timeline now and there seems to be something missing in it. But we'll talk about that. We have a few other things that were revealed about Echoes of Wisdom as well. I won't lie, the next few streams we're probably going to be focusing a lot on Echoes of Wisdom because it is the major release of Nintendo. And if there's stuff that they are talking about, we are going to be talking about it here. And if you guys don't know, I'll let you guys know right now at the start. A little bit of, product placement, or not product placement, but a little bit of hyping up. I will be opening a Zelda Switch Lite on camera the 26th around 10 a.m. And then we are going to play Echoes of the Wisdom for a minimum of 6 hours of gaming, if not longer. And I took the whole day off of work. It's already set in. We are going to be there live. So if anyone can make it on the 26th, make sure you're there. Malo Base, good morning, Maple. You're a fan from here from the Philippines. Welcome, Malo Base. Malo's Base, sorry about that. Needless Dragon, hey, how are you doing? Nanaki, I said hi to you already. We're good. But yes, so that's number one. We are going to do a return on a couple of the games that we talked about last week's podcast because I haven't had time to review them, but the Metacritics are out, and there's 2 games that came out last week that I definitely want to take a look at that we didn't take a look at ourselves, but I do think it's important information for all of you out there. We are going to get some fresh news on Rita's Rewind, so Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the beat-em-up game, the pixel art beat-em-up game that's coming out. Very interesting news, something I was waiting to hear about, and I can't believe we got a reveal this last week. And then, obviously, as usual, we are going to finish with what I would say are the major Switch releases for this week. However, as I wanted to do since the start of the podcast, if we are on time, I will also open up the session at the end, like at least a good 10 minutes, where if you guys want to talk about anything I did not choose to talk about, I'm going to open it up to the chat, and I want to hear what your suggestions are. So if you're here, start thinking about it already. If there's something that you want to talk about, that you want my take on or anything like that, think about it now, because most likely at the end of the show, for the first time, we're going to have time to really open it up. We did it last week. Someone came with a question that was very, and I wanted to talk about. And they just opened the door for me, so we took the time to talk about it. So let me know if there's anything like that out there, and we will talk about it. But now, without further ado, let's jump straight into the meat of it. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit the like button as you get in here. Make sure that it's sent out. We are going to be switching over. We are going to be looking at, let's start with the Zelda Echoes of Wisdom trailer. We're going to start off big this week. We're going to start off right with the main thing at hand, the Echoes of Wisdom trailer. Why? Because I want to start with all the Zelda news. We're going to talk about all the Zelda stuff because it is the major release for Nintendo. It is my major release for this year. So let's take a look at it. Let's start by watching the trailer. I might pause it a few times because there are things I'm going to maybe want to talk about as we go through it. But let's get going.
The land of Hyrule has been torn apart by mysterious rifts. In search of Link and the King of Hyrule, both of whom were stolen away, Princess Zelda must borrow the power of an ethereal creature called Tri. Together, they enter the tears that scar the land in order to save her kingdom. On her journey, Zelda will explore what lies within the rifts. This is the still world. Here, trees, fragments of land, people, and other items that were swallowed up by the rifts float in the void. It's said they will eventually vanish completely. Exploring the
First of all, I'd made a prediction about what would happen when we entered the rifts, and that's why I said that as I was watching this trailer. Part of me was sad because first thing is, one of my predictions was that if we went into the rift, we might actually play as different characters. I thought possibly even we would have to help Link sort of make his way to Zelda. Like Zelda would like open the doorway, which would let Link make progression. And I thought we would maybe be playing half the game as Link, half the game as Zelda. And that was going to be a secret reveal. We're still not sure it's not going to happen, but this trailer makes it far less likely. And because now we see what happens when you actually go into the rifts and you're continuing to play Zelda, which I'm in for. I can't wait to play this game. I see Grovel says the game is a skip for him. For me, it is definitely not a skip. I love my classic 2D top-down Zeldas. This is a definite play for me. Not disappointed by this. I'm just disappointed because I think if you guys had heard my original concept that I thought Nintendo was going to surprise us with, I do think that overall it was an S+ tier concept. This is still like an A tier concept. My concept was maybe S tier though. And I know I'm putting a lot of, sort of clout in my own gaming, my idea, but I do think it would have been freaking amazing. But let's keep going with the trailer. I just wanted to pop in here, say, this is part of what sort of ruined it for me, but let's keep going.
Farthest reaches of this world is no easy feat. To do so, Zelda will have to traverse eerie, floating terrain. Because the path is broken up, the echoes you've learned can come in handy. Forge your own way forward by creating echoes to use as platforms to bridge the gaps.
Okay. I know I'm pausing a lot, but something else here. I didn't realize from the other trailers how much platforming was going to have to be done in this game. This game, for a Zelda game, has a lot, like a 2D Zelda game, has a lot of platforming. Because 2D Zelda games are generally more about puzzle solving than platforming. This game, from that just gameplay section we saw, seems to have a lot of platforming. I just wanted to throw that out there because it'll have a little bit of subject matter later on in the stream. Just keep that in mind, how much platforming is done in this game and how much it doesn't resemble as much a traditional 2D Zelda, but something else. And we'll come back to that later.
Learned can come in handy. Forge your own way forward by creating echoes to use as platforms to bridge the gaps. Massive dungeons can also be found deep within the still world. Zelda will use her wisdom and echoes to take on enemies and puzzles that stand in her way. Then confront challenging bosses who await her arrival.
Now, this was a part, sorry, I'm going to be doing this a lot during this trailer. This is a part I was super hyped about. Why? Traditional dungeons. They just said it. In the Warp World, we are going to be doing traditional dungeons with bosses at the end. Look, I love the open world Breath of the Wild stuff, don't get me wrong, but you know my true heart lies in this 2D stuff, and for everything I loved in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the one part to me that was disappointing is the feeling of true dungeons. And I know we got the different temples. I know we got the beasts in Breath of the Wild, but to me, nonetheless, they didn't feel like real dungeons. I'm really glad to see that we're going back to like a dungeon format here.
What to do though? Overwhelm the boss with echoes? Or combine them to find unique ways around the situation? The strategy is yours to devise. The still world can be accessed through rifts scattered across Hyrule, and each entry point leads to a location.
I love the
with its
visuals,
own
by the way.
defining
Visuals.
features. On her adventure, Zelda must overcome dungeons within the rifts and the mysteries they hold. Without Link or the King, Hyrule's fate rests squarely in Zelda's hands.
See, that's another part of the trailer that crushed my dream. The fate of the kingdom rests squarely in Zelda's hands. Like, they're going out of their way to say that the king is gone, Link is gone, and that most likely they're not going to be playable. Which is, like I said, okay. It was just disappointing to me because I thought my idea was better. But, yeah. I'm going to stop saying it eventually. But still, like I said, Nintendo, I'm here. You can talk to me anytime. I'll give you some great ideas for the next Zelda game. We can make it even better. Oh, and this crushed it all.
When Zelda finds and picks up a mysterious sword, she takes on the sword fighter form, allowing her to attack directly. With its mighty power, she can forge ahead when her path is blocked, strike down enemies on her own, or battle alongside echoes. However, she can only stay in sword fighter form for a short period of time. When or where you choose to wield this power is up to you. The sword's gauge can be replenished by collecting energy found in the still world. So
I actually like this, that we can sort of power up into a new form temporarily. But by the way, that just answered the questions. Remember a few months ago when they came out with a surprise tweet about the rating system of Zelda and how it was rated for sword combat? And everyone was like, oh my god, Link could become playable. And it actually got me thinking on my idea and all that. But this just sort of answered us why it was rated for sword combat and you know, using a sword, even though Zelda didn't look like she was using a sword. However, at the same time, I'm super glad about this in another sense, because I was saying I hope Zelda has a way to deal with enemies directly. Like, I like the echo stuff, but I do think that at one point in the game, it'll be, you know, it'd be fun to have a way to directly deal with enemies. like the echo stuff all the time was sort of eventually going to get tiresome. The sword form is our answer. At the same time, you can't just always be in it, which is a good move here, because obviously you don't want everyone just bypassing the special mechanic, which is the echoes, and then just, you know, going through the game like a sword fighter.
This is Dompe, an engineer who crafts clockwork gizmos in Hyrule. His extravagant creations are called automatons, and they can be activated by winding them up. They can unleash powerful effects that differentiate them from echoes. But be careful, they'll break apart if they take too much damage. You'll meet many other quirky characters during your travels, and there's no doubt they'll be of great help to the princess.
I love this how they're bringing it all together now.
On a journey to traverse and save Hyrule, Princess Zelda's wisdom is key to undertaking this adventure. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Available September 26th only on the Nintendo Switch system. Pre-orders are available now on Nintendo eShop.
Just looking, they're showing us the the little evil Link there at the end, which is the last piece that tells me Link is most likely not going to be playable, unless that's where he becomes playable. But there we have it. So that was the new Echoes of the Wisdom trailer. And honestly, we got a lot of information. First of all, 5.5 minutes long. It is very long. I sort of hope it's the last trailer to Needless Dragon. And personally, I think it is. I think it is going to be. We're going to get small recuts. I do think we're going to get like small recuts of what we've already seen that will be done in like smaller formats, like 1-minute trailers, but it won't be new information. It'll be recuts of what we already got, like commercials and stuff. Because I do think that at this point, anything else, Nintendo's gonna want it to be like a surprise when we open up the game. Because already now we have a lot of knowledge here in the different trailers and whatnot. And I feel like that giving us more, like you said, it's gonna be spoilers at this point. But seriously, seeing that evil Link at the end, seeing the Zelda sword fighter, like it answered a lot of questions, but at the same time, like I said, it crushed my dream. Because for anyone out there, I'll just spell it out as quickly as I can. What my thoughts was, and I did say it shortly, is that I really thought that the secret that Nintendo was keeping from us is that this was going to be a 50-50 game between Zelda and Link. And that Zelda was going to be the main protagonist in the sense that Link can't do anything without her, but basically what we'll have to do is sort of work to get Link and Zelda into the same place. So like, you know, Zelda opens rifts, Link can work through a temple, then when he reaches the temple, oh no, he's pulled into another rift. You know what I mean? Something like that, till all the major rifts are closed, and then the final part of the game, you would actually control both characters and do like a dungeons as dual Link and Zelda, sort of like Eastward. If you played Eastward at all, like the same style that they used in Eastward between the two playable characters. And that's why I said I thought like this is good, but I think that idea would have been amazing. But yeah, I've just got to say, honestly, I love the aesthetic. I know a lot of people did not like Link's Awakening's aesthetic because this is obviously an evolution of that aesthetic. I personally really liked it. And Link's Awakening, by the way, is one of my favorite all-time Zelda games. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely among like the top 3 or 4 easily. And honestly, this looks like a total evolution of that aesthetic. And I'm okay with this for 2D Zelda games. If Nintendo doesn't want to go back to the pure pixel art route because they're sort of out of that, I respect their choice, and I think this works for 2D Zelda. But this trailer honestly got me more hopeful for the game. Because even though it's not the idea that I thought it was going to be, it still made me a lot more hopeful for the game because we're getting dungeons. Zelda's going to have a combat form. I love games that give temporary transformations. I find that it's one of the most motivating mechanics in games. Like any game that gives me a way to temporarily power up. I'm sorry, I always go back to the Super Saiyan reference, but if I can go Super Saiyan for a minute and beat the crap out of a boss or enemies, it motivates me. I like that in a game, feeling like you have that button you can smash that just pushes you to another level. So I love games that use that mechanic, and I feel this game has it in there. So honestly, I'm very hyped for the game now. Told you guys already, took the whole day off. So the 26th, make sure it's here. It is supposed to be $60. I don't, like, here in Canada, it's $80, which is the normal price for a $60 game. Yeah, the star power. Come on, what made you feel more amazing than when Mario got a star? Eh? By the way, I know I'm shaggy tonight. I should have told you guys at the start of the stream. It's the terrible long day weekends. Long day weekends, I hate shaving. I'm just like chilling out, relaxing. So tomorrow morning I'm shaving, but that's why you guys are getting shaggy Rick tonight. And I know I used to wear like the full beard, but this isn't like the full beard. This is like just like 3-day shag. So sorry guys, I'm not looking best for you all tonight, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't motivate myself tonight to shave for stream. But seriously, if you guys want, recheck that trailer out. If like this wasn't enough for you, there's a lot of like little stuff. And like I said, we will get back to that platforming concept. Remember that there was a lot of platforming in this, because I think it'll give us a relatable idea based on what we're going to look at next. Like this, probably for a 2D Zelda, is where the characters are most mobile. Like, you could jump in other Zelda games, but it was often very limited jumping, like with a Rock's Feather or something like that. You needed an item, and it was very limited jumping. This one seems to be very, very. I do have a Latino barber shop that I go to, but I don't go to for like normal shaving. But I do have one. Don't worry, man. It's not far. If I do go to get my haircut somewhere, it's always a barber shop. I never go anywhere else. Yeah. So that is the new trailer. But I do agree, as the chat said, this should be the last one. If Nintendo puts out another one, I just want it to be like rehashed information in a different format, because you know they're going to do that. They're going to get commercials ready. They're going to get shorts ready that they're going to use as commercials in ads that you're going to be seeing on YouTube and stuff like that. That is going to happen. I just think that the information at this point needs to stop. And if, let's imagine Link is playable, because we saw that spoiler at the end. We saw that spoiler at the end here. Come on, give it to me. With evil Link attacking Zelda. If after you beat evil Link, you team up with him, like I said, that would be freaking amazing. That is the one tiny bit of hope I got from this trailer. Tiny, tiny little bit of hope. So, other than that, guys, these are my thoughts on this trailer. I think we are setting ourselves up for an amazing 2D Zelda game, and I really, 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 really can't wait to play it. Now we're going to jump directly into something else about Zelda. Because like I said, I want to sort of get the Zelda stuff out of the way early here. Not because we need to move out of it, but another little bit of it's spoiler, but it's not spoiler. So anyone who's worried about spoilers, don't worry. This is not going to be spoilers in a storyline or anything sense. But apparently, Nintendeal tweeted that from the get-go, we will have the choice between two difficulty settings. Now, obviously, this was a demo that he played, I believe, at PAX at PAX over the last little bit. But basically, apparently, we will be able to play directly from the start in normal or hero mode. And in hero mode, you'll take 2 times the damage and hearts will not drop. Like basically heart refills will not drop. You know which game doesn't have a jump button? God of War 2018. I hate it for it. That was one of the biggest things that I had to get used to because I'm a huge fan of God of War. I've been playing since the first one. Even though I'm a Nintendo fan, I do have a PlayStation. I have played a lot of PlayStation games. I used to be a PlayStation fanatic, like in the PlayStation 1 and 2 days. And I played all the traditional God of Wars. And when I got to God of War 2018, it was a big adjustment for me too. And you know what? Part of me, and I'm saying this with a very big grain of salt, part of me likes better the old gameplay, where it was just crazy hack and slash with like 25 guys coming at you for every way, and you just felt like a massive monster throughout the whole game, rather than this like sort of in-between Souls-like, in-between action gameplay. Part of me likes better that old gameplay style. And another part of me loves where they brought the story because the character now is in such a more evolved place. And the gameplay is nonetheless extremely fun. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just, my heart is torn between the two. Because I loved old school God of War gameplay. But I can see that I think they got to the sort of place where they did everything they could do with it. But anyway, we're going to stop talking about God of War. We're going to get back to the stream here, to the Nintendo news. So I'm really wondering if, honestly, for the stream of Echoes of Wisdom, I think I'm not going to play on hero mode to start out with. If I was not streaming it, I think I would start out directly on hero mode, personally. You know, because a lot of, like, you had Master Quest, like, in, I was Ocarina of Time, right? Like, it's very rare that Zelda games have a difficulty setting in them. And this is actually really interesting to see. So I'm wondering if the game, Nintendo maybe considers it too easy. Is that a possibility? You know, that they made the game a little easier on the standard difficulty? And like I said, though, it's just that for a stream, if I start dying 25 times over and over again, I do think that it's going to be a little bit boring. So I do think we're going to play on normal. However, if I was playing just personally off stream, I think I would start out directly on hero. Link's Awakening wasn't that hard. I think Link's Awakening really has a spike towards the last dungeon and the last boss fight. But I think before that, it was a little easier. You know what I mean? Like, I found Link's Awakening to be like, well, easier by what standard? You know what I mean? Is that things have evolved over time. And when I was a kid, I found that Link to the Past was difficult. Nowadays, I find Link to the Past is pretty tame. It's pretty tame. Like, the puzzles can be challenging if you don't know them, but the gameplay, the combat is not. So that's where it's like a little, yeah. It was a big dungeon, exactly, and the last fight is pretty challenging. Like, if you don't have Link pretty powered up and you don't have your stuff tight as heck, that last fight can be a whopper. It can be a whopper. Like, it can really, you know, give you a run for your money. By the way, guys, I did try to put the ads as little as possible on the stream without cutting them out completely because it's YouTube, you know, something has to happen. but I'm going to be manually trying to skip them, okay, in the future, because the lowest I can put them is every 30 minutes. I would have rather had them like every 45 to 60 minutes. That option is not there. So when I see them, I'm going to skip them. Like I just skipped the one that was supposed to hit, but I just wanted to send that out there. If I wish there was a better middle ground, but yeah, just letting you guys know. I do want like 1 or 2 to roll during the thing because, you know, we're sort of trying to get to a place on the channel where I can do this full time. So it needs to happen. But just wanted to throw that out there. So I'm sorry if you guys get ads during important information. Let me know in the chat. I can repeat some stuff if it happens. But yeah, but I still think this is super interesting because hardcore Zelda fans, I think starting right away on hero mode, rather than having to do a second full playthrough, is a really, really nice option here. And I thought that this was super interesting. And I am excited that they're recognizing that you don't necessarily need to play through the game once to unlock that hard mode. So I'm glad that we're getting that from the start. Not something big, little bit of extra news. Like I said, it's not true spoilers, but I thought that this was really fun to see. Next, let's take a look at the Zelda Timeline. Because yes, on top of it, Nintendo this week actually put out an official Zelda Timeline. Now, the pictures are not the best because it's people that took pictures of a billboard at PAX. And don't worry, I have some sections blown up that we're going to be able to look at next. But basically, they've made an official timeline for all the Zelda games. Now, they've done this in the past, but it wasn't exactly the same as this. And like I said, don't worry, we'll be looking at the blown up sections together and looking at the stuff that I'm sort of agreeing with and the stuff I find a little bit weirder. But what I do find super interesting, and you're going to see, is that they've officially split the timeline into different sections. And Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are actually a completely different timeline, in their opinion, not linked to any other timelines. So it's like a fresh restart of the series. So not only is it a fresh restart of Zelda mechanically as an open world 3D game and whatnot, it is a fresh reset for them in the full timeline. There's like no association or direct association between Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and any of the other games, which I find wild as a concept. Really wild as a concept. But we're going to get into the meat and bones of this graph because there's a lot of stuff to digest here. I did want to read here because I'm trying to make this as well. Wait, I can get this bigger like this. So since 1987, Link has starred in the Legend of Zelda series, taking on monstrous foes across multiple timelines. When evil rears its boorish head, you can bet Link and his longtime co-star Zelda will be there to fight for Hyrule. Over the last 37 years, Link has had quite the career full of numerous adventures and countless enemies. If you'd like to learn more about this hero's journey, grab your tunic and check out some of his starring roles in the timeline below. Now, by the way, someone asked earlier if I was going to be dressed as Link for the stream. I'm trying to find a decent cosplay. I'm not going to lie because I want to go as Link for Halloween. I just don't know if I'm going to have it in time for the stream because I just don't want to grab like a cheap cosplay off of Amazon. Like I could, but I don't feel like doing that. I'd like it to be a more decent full cosplay. I could dress as Zelda. That would be freaking funny because there's actually a better there's a better cheap Zelda cosplay than cheap Link cosplay. You know what? I'd be willing to do it because I'm like, if you guys don't know me, I'm like secure and all. Like, I don't give a crap about all that stuff. So I'd be willing to go. I'd be willing to do it. No, don't, bro, man. I'd bust the one thing I'd be scared is that I'd bust a costume. Like, I'd have to grab an X large. I'd have to grab an X large or something like that. But we'll leave that till stream. If I'm not, please don't be disappointed. It's just because I didn't find anything that was good. Because I'm trying to actually buy like medieval, like a real, like I don't want to buy a Zelda tunic. I want to buy like a medieval tunic, medieval slacks, and stuff, and get that together in the like real format, sort of like I did for my Mario costume, where the only thing that's officially a Mario part of the costume was the hat and the gloves. Everything else I did like normal. Full beard Zelda. That would be freaking awesome. Okay, so here, let's take a look. Let's zoom in. Let's take a look at closer into the timeline. Now, first of all, I find it super funny. They actually put creation here. So, stuff started with creation. First game in the series, and this we already knew because Nintendo had already said that timeline-wise, Skyward Sword is the oldest Zelda game. Like, obviously, it's not the oldest in terms of when it released, but where the story is set, the Sky Kingdom and all that garbage stuff happened, like, before Hyrule was even established as a kingdom, which we'll see on the timeline right away after here. Then the Sacred Realm is sealed, okay? Happens at the end of this game, you know what I mean? Don't want to spoil too much stuff, but like this sort of, we sort of knew this was going to happen. And then it was the establishment of the Kingdom of Hyrule. The second oldest game is actually Minish Cap, which this somehow I didn't know. I thought Minish Cap was in the child timeline that will look lower down. I could be mistaken, though. I'm trying to use my memory to remember older timelines Nintendo had talked about, and I felt that this was in the child timeline. But look, could be mistaken here. Then we actually have The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords that sort of happens in conjunction with Minish Cap, or like right away after. Then we have the Hylian Civil War. And then we have Ocarina of Time, which actually causes the first major rift in the timeline. And I really find this interesting that this is how they managed to plug everything in here, is that, Zelda Ocarina of Time, if you didn't know, plays with time travel mechanics. So a la Back to the Future, it created two rifts in the timeline where two different things happened. And this is the sort of effed up part, is that some of this is actually based around Link being defeated in Ocarina of Time. So in the timeline where Link is defeated, and we'll switch to another picture, don't worry, I have the other sections blown up, it leads to one of the series of games. And it leads to, in my opinion, to one of the most surprising series of games. But so this is interesting. I would say, like, other than Minish Cap being here, and I didn't think it was going to be, for the moment, everything seems okay. Now, next we get to the middle section of it. And sorry, I used different blowups of the different sections, because if I just zoomed into the main picture, we could not read stuff properly. So we're going to use the blown up sections individually, because it's the only way to keep like the writing clear. So yeah, from Ocarina of Time, there's actually a separate timeline based on whether the hero was triumphant or defeated. And the imprisoning war happens here, but there's an imprisoning war mentioned in Breath of the Wild. Or was that in the warrior style game? But it's just weird because you have the imprisoning war, but yet Breath of the Wild, I'm pretty sure that's what they mentioned in Breath of the Wild. And then here it's like a separate timeline. That's the one part that doesn't work to me. But we have A Link to the Past. So A Link to the Past happens after the hero of Hyrule is actually defeated. Maybe that's why these games often have a light and a dark world. But you know what I mean? Hyrule is okay. Ganondorf, like, it's a little weird to expect that the hero was defeated and that led to a Link to the Past. Then we actually have The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. This makes sense. This does make sense because Link's Awakening does refer to some things like well, I don't want to ruin any spoilers for that, so we're going to stop. But it does make sense if you've played through the game, why it makes sense that it's directly after A Link to the Past. Then we actually have The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons and The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages. Then we have The Legend of Zelda A Link Between Worlds. Once again, if you played A Link Between Worlds, it makes total sense that this is all in the same timeline. And then finally, we have The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. Now, what I find funny at the same time is they haven't included the warrior-style games anywhere in here. So I would like to know why this is supposed to be all the Legend of Zelda games, but the warrior-style games are not Legend of Zelda games? But they are? So, first discrepancy here, warrior games are like it just doesn't happen. Okay? Then we have the hero is triumphant. We're going to look at the era of decline because that is, to me, the most surprising section. Not because where they are on the timeline, but because of sort of what happens there. So if the hero is triumphant, it once again splits into the child era and adult era. In the child era, we have Majora's Mask, we have Twilight Princess, and we have Zelda Four Swords. Okay, makes sense. Link is a child. Number 2, in the adult era, we have Wind Waker. It must be the chibi art style that was used combined with the cel shaded graphics, but I always thought Zelda was a child in Wind Waker. I don't remember anyone referring to his age on a regular basis in that game, but I really thought he was a young Link, not an older Link in Wind Waker. We have Phantom Hourglass. The new kingdom of Hyrule is founded, and then we have Spirit Tracks. Okay? Either way, these two games are garbage. So I don't really care where they are in the timeline. And I know I'm going to make some people pissed there. But I freaking hate the DS games. If there's only 2 Zelda games I don't want to play a second time, it is like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. And to be totally honest, I never finished Spirit Tracks. I gave up about I feel like 10 or 12 hours into the game. I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I did not like them. And it takes a lot for me to not like the DS games were awesome. I knew I'm going to trigger some people there, but look, we all love different games. We're just going to leave it at that because how does your wife react when you talk to her about Zelda? Sorry, I was reading from the chat there. I don't talk to her about Zelda whatsoever because she does not care. She only likes co-op games that we can play together. That's the only thing she really wants to hear about. And yeah. It's okay, guys. It's okay. You can all love bad games. You can all love bad games, Grovel. It's okay. If you got Spirit Tracks day 1, I feel sorry for you, dude. I got it day 1 too. But I traded it in it's one of the rare games that I don't have in my retro collection because I actually traded them in because I did not like them. But like I said, I don't want to get on people's choo choo. This is going to be the story of the stream now. Everyone's going to be talking about the fact that trying to convince me that the DS games were good. You can like them. Like I said, we all have bad taste for some things. It's okay. Just, I hated them. Okay, let's finish the timeline, and then we'll discuss what I want to take a look at. So the last part of the timeline is right here. We have the era of decline, and then we have The Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. So it's weird. It's funny as heck that the actual timeline ends with the first ever Zelda games that came out. But that is perfectly fine because when the game came out in reality, it can be at the end and whatnot. It's just that to me, The fact that the games where Hyrule stays Hyrule doesn't make sense. Okay, let's go back to the other one here. In all these games, Hyrule is Hyrule. Okay, all of these have a central Hyrule in full bloom. Like Link to the Past, like, okay, Zelda gets kidnapped, but like it happens in the game. Before she gets kidnapped, Hyrule is in good shape. Link's Awakening doesn't really happen in Hyrule, but we can assume that Hyrule is okay. Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, all of these happen in a Hyrule. However, this is where the heroes defeated. So you would think that if the heroes defeated, Hyrule would be like in the shitter, right? Like Hyrule would be in like bad shape and bad things would be happening. But the worlds where like the world is flooded, Majora's Mask, like you're sort of like it looks like, to me it doesn't look like a super like positive style world. Like the world's pretty much ending with a huge ass face smashing into the planet and whatnot, are the ones where the hero's triumphant. So it's really weird that where the hero's triumphant leads to the darker games, and where the heroes defeated, in my opinion, lead to what I would consider the lighter games. Like obviously these have lighter tones to them, but at the same time the world is like flooded and destroyed. Like that's the part to me that doesn't make sense in this graph. In this graph. But I mean, look, Nintendo decided that that's the way it is. That's the way it is. But here's my last question to all of you before we get off of this timeline stuff. If Nintendo is at PAX East with a whole diagram of the timeline, and they're about to launch a new Zelda game, where the heck is Echoes of Wisdom? No. So number one, they forgot the Warrior games. It would have been fun for them to at least mention where it would be. But here's my question. Which timeline do you think Echoes of Wisdom is part of? And this is going to come back to that platforming stuff I talked about earlier. Because I have a crazy, crazy thought here. First of all, let's see a few ideas in the chat. Where do you think Echoes of Wisdom? Yes, Squirrel. That's what I'm thinking too. You think it's Fallen Hero, Needless Dragon? Zelda 3 is Echoes of Wisdom? That would be really awesome here. That could sort of work-ish. But I think like Squirrel, I think it's part of the Breath of the Wild timeline. Why? Because of all that platforming. Because if you think about it, I find that this 2D Zelda game is the one that seems to be most influenced by Breath of the Wild. And Zelda's design visually looks the most like the design from Breath of the Wild-ish. However, we never really saw her in like a dress and stuff. That's where it sets things off. Is that like, and it's hard to go from the chibi art style to like the Breath of the Wild art style. However, Link is dressed more like classic Link from the Lost Hero timeline, from the Defeated Hero timeline. But, and that's where I'm sort of torn. If I'm going with the gameplay, I feel it fits into the Breath of the Wild timeline with its mechanics, and the rifts, you know, feel a lot like what we've felt like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. While the design on Link and Zelda, I'm changing my tune here because I think Zelda now looks more like a Zelda from the classic, because we never saw her in a dress like that in Breath of the Wild. And Breath of the Wild Zelda, I don't feel would walk around Hyrule in a dress. Think of Zelda in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. She's dressed very, like, you know, practical. So it actually, her character design fits more like in the era of decline here, like a Zelda 3. Yeah, the girl was always in pants. So I'm wondering, and I find it super weird that Nintendo shows up to PAX with the timeline. I would have thought that the whole point of doing this is to show us where Echoes fits into the timeline. Like, what's the point of doing this right now with a brand new Zelda game coming out and not telling us, well, here's the whole timeline and this is where Echoes fits in? And Echoes is nowhere on the goddamn chart. Like, what the heck happened here? So I still found this super interesting. I do find it interesting that Nintendo is sort of setting things straight, even though I'm in disagreement with some of this. Because Zelda, let's be honest, you could just say that there is no timeline, and I don't really care. You could just say that it's basically the reincarnations of the same character over and over again in different realities, and I would be like, yeah, sure, works for me. I don't care. But my biggest sort of gripe with this is, if you're taking the time to do this, why not at least let us know where Echoes fits in? It's not really a spoiler, unless it really would spoil something major about the game to let us know where it fits in. They want YouTube to take care of the crazy theories, and that's why we're here tonight. We're part of the crazies, guys. We are part of the crazies. And my crazies, I still feel that even though with the character designs, I'm calling it now, it's part of the Breath of the Wild. To me, part of the Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Yeah, we actually we watched it last week, Tony. I'd saw it before you posted on Discord, but and we watched it in last week's podcast. Super excited for the Michael Myers slash Evil Dead 2D side scroller. It's going to be amazing. I have a feeling it's being done by a company that makes great games. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be freaking insane. So that is our Zelda timeline. Question, comments. Do you hate me now that I told you that the Zelda DS games suck? But I'm pretty sure I've said it before because I have like pure hatred for that. Okay. One last little bit of really good news that I want to look over. And this is going to be an article from our friends over at Nintendo Life. Once again, shout out to Nintendo Life. By the way, if you guys want to look at all the links after the stream, after the podcast, they will all be in the description of the podcast. So if you want to look over any of the information yourself, you want to rewatch any of the trailers, you can just click on the description of the video down below. While you're down there, don't forget to hit the like button, drop a comment, say you love the stream, get things going. And yes. Now, by the way, we also are going to want to do a little bit of shameless planting, but yes. This is the information. Now, I said it since we saw Rita's Rewind. Tommy is nowhere in the trailers. The Green Ranger is nowhere in the trailers. But guess what? Digital Eclipse confirmed themselves in a tweet. We can't keep the secret any longer. The Green Ranger is an unlockable character in Rita's Rewind. Tommy's origin story is part of our game's narrative, so once you complete the campaign, you will be able to select the Green Ranger. Woo! My favorite Ranger of all time, the Green Ranger. And no, I am sorry, the White Ranger is not better than the Green Ranger. Man, we're going to have words tonight, Grovel, man. The Green Ranger kicks the crap out of the White Ranger. Crap out of the White Ranger. Like, pure, like, it is pure a weaker version of the Green Ranger. Like, come on, Tiger Zord versus Dragon Zord. You telling me that Tiger Zord was cooler than the Dragon Zord? He had a talking sword. Bro, he had... The guy had a flute and he was still kicking people's asses. His main weapon was a flute. And he was kicking people's butts with a flute. The White Ranger needed a sword. And he still couldn't do what the Green Ranger did. Who else kicks ass with a freaking flute? No one else. It's the Ocarina Ranger. I love that, Dre. But no, but seriously, look, either way, I love Tommy Oliver. Like, let's put the Green Ranger, White Ranger stuff aside. And, rest in peace, David Frank. Man, I love that guy. Like, his kiais, like, you could hear his kiais in a show, and you know that was Jason David Frank without even looking at the screen. You close your eyes and you're like, yeah, Green Ranger's fighting right now. That guy, like, I feel sad for the way he left us. But, like, he had such a love for the franchise. It was crazy. And, for everything that, like, happened in his life and stuff like that, to see someone that loved so much a franchise that I loved as a kid, and to see how much he actually poured his like soul into that franchise was an awesome thing to see. Now, did he maybe hurt himself by being a little too extravagant? Like, when I say hurt himself, I mean career-wise. I think he went a little overboard on some stuff, but still, he was an amazing actor in that, as a martial arts actor. It is like a pure Power Rangers and the Green and Red Ranger in the original show are the whole reason I started martial arts. The one episode where they have that karate tournament and they actually have to fight each other. Jason has to fight Tommy in the karate tournament. It is pure after that episode that 12-year-old Rick went and signed up to karate for the first time. Because I was like, this is so effing cool. And personally, martial arts was a huge part of my life and a huge part of, like, I think what built my personality as I am today and made me, like, dedicated and gave me, like, a lot of values that I have today. And so I have a lot, like, to thank this show for. And I know we're talking about, like, a kid's 90s TV show. I know that. But still, it's these little things sometimes that happen in your life that get you somewhere else. And basically, it is amazing to see that he's going to be part of the game. I was really hoping that it wasn't going to be a legal problem where they couldn't, like, use Jason David Frank's likeness or character or whatnot in the game because, of his estate and all that. Like, I was worried a little bit that could be the issue here, but I'm so happy to see it's not. And I'm sorry, maybe they won't be able to make him look too much like Jason David Frank. I don't know. Maybe not. But it is just amazing to see that he will be part of the game. My favorite Ranger is going to be there. And, eventually if he does become the White Ranger and becomes sort of like a weaker version of himself, I'll still like him anyway. I'll still play as the White Ranger, even though we all know the Green Ranger is a superior Ranger. I mean, personally, I even think when he came back as the Black Ranger, he was better than the White Ranger. I think the Brachiosaurus Zord, better. I think he was better. Red Zero Ranger, better than White. I've tried to get Grovel as angry as I can right now. Weakest of Tommy's versions was the White Ranger. Beetleborgs was better. Now you're trying to make me mad, dude. The Red Zero Ranger was awesome, yeah. Theoretically, in Power Rangers lore, some people still say today that the Zero Rangers were theoretically the most powerful Rangers of all time. Yeah, but we're not going to get into Power Rangers lore because we're going to We're gonna lose viewers if we keep talking too much Power Rangers. But yeah, I just thought that this was super cool because this is another game I'm super excited for. Rita's Rewind. Hopefully, we will be getting it before the end of the year. It seems to be all on track. And dude, if you guys are, if anyone knows anyone over at the developer that can make sure I get a review code for this game, or if you guys are watching, please give me a review code. I guarantee you I will stream the game. I will do a review of the game. And if it is, well, hopefully it is good. I think it will be good. And if it is good, trust me, guys, you will not regret it. I will play the crap out of that game, like, publicly, and I will tell everyone that it's an awesome game. I'm just saying TV shows to irritate Rick. Thundercats. I love Thundercats too, but He-Man, I love He-Man too, man. Come on, I have like freaking Masters of the Universe stuff all over. I'm a 80s freak. Come on. Power Rangers is the one franchise that would be better than the original material if it was completely remade for a movie. Well, there was supposed to be a total reboot on... Look, I always thought that at this point in time, Power Rangers should be remade with a more serious tone. Because most of the biggest Power Rangers fans today are in their 30s and 40s. And although I still watch a kids show from time, I'm gonna say that I still do watch the seasons of Power Rangers. They are losing some of their like appeal that I had as a kid from that nostalgia stuff. So I always thought that Power Rangers could be remade almost like they did with the movie. The movie they remade in 2019, I'm feeling like somewhere around there. I'm feeling that was like a direction where the movie was like slightly more serious, slightly more dangerous. Like you actually thought characters might die and shit in that movie, like at some points. And I really think that would be the future for Power Rangers, and even go a little more evolved with some real hardcore action scenes, like some really badass action scenes and whatnot. I always thought that was where its future would lie. A complete reboot as a like over the top adult oriented action series. Like, and really like top it out like that. Fan service, you know what I mean? Like a Deadpool Wolverine freaking Power Rangers. Maybe not R-rated, like not that hardcore, but you go for like a 13 plus rating, you make it like nice, good, solid martial arts action, and you you go and you target that audience. Okay, enough about Power Rangers now. Let's take a look at two bits of good news we have for games from last week. So number one of the games I highlighted last week was Gundam Breaker 4. I also really love the Gundam series, and I'm glad to see that Gundam Breakers 4 is now sitting at a Metacritic score of 78%. Now, I know what you say, Metacritic and blah, 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 but we're going to go look at a few of the reviews. There is one sad thing, however, because if we look at... sorry, that's not what I want to do. If we look at the Metacritic by platform, it's actually sitting very high on PC and PS5, because just to let you know, for a Gundam game at around 80 is a very successful Gundam game, okay? The only problem is that the Switch is actually sitting at 70. Because apparently the graphics obviously take a hit on Switch. And if you want, like I read the reviews from Nintendo Life, for example, they are still saying that Gundam Breakers 4 offers a return to 4. Let's read through the sort of synopsis of their review, and you'll get what they're talking about. So Gundam Breaker 4 offers a return to form for the series and demonstrates time and again that it knows the importance of focusing on its strengths. Though its middling graphics, and you see that's the problem on the Switch, and somewhat repetitive gameplay can hold it back a bit, the incredibly deep customization options, snappy combat, and near endless replayability make this the kind of game that'll get its hooks in you deep once it clicks. If you're into Gundam, we'd suggest you pick this one up when you get the chance, especially if you're looking for a content-rich and relatively low-investment action game to add to your Switch library. So it's actually a pretty solid review for a game that only got a 70, just to be totally honest here. And Nintendo Life doesn't do, do they do 0.5s? I'm not sure if they do 0.5s, but I would like the way the review is sounding, it sounds more like a 7.5 to 8 when you read it. However, they mentioned middling graphics. Graphics are not as much an issue on the other platforms. So I'm thinking that unfortunately the Switch takes a little beating on that end, but still, if you're looking to get into a Gundam game, this is going to be the best game that we've gotten in years. The only problem here is the price. Why did I not pick up Gundam Breakers 4 on release? The price. I'm really into Gundam. I really want to play this game, but it didn't look or feel like a $60 game to me. And I knew I wasn't going to have time to stream it or play it on stream, so it wasn't worth investing $60 to play it on my off time when I know I won't have time to play it for at least 2 or 3 months. Because until we get all the big releases of like September, October, November out of the way, just to let you guys know, I'm not playing any games except the games that I'm reviewing or streaming. I might finish them off camera, but I'm still only playing those games. So in my mind, I'm like, why not wait till Black Friday? Because I'm pretty sure that Breakers 4 is going to get a major discount on Black Friday, by the way. So this is why I wanted to return on this game, is that for one, if you are a Gundam fan, if you're a mecha fan, if you've been waiting to play a game with like mecha action that is pretty decent on Switch, we actually have a game out right now that looks to be pretty freaking decent. However, at the same time, I would just say if you have a backlog and you don't mind waiting, wait till Black Friday. And this could be a really nice pickup, especially if we're getting like a 40 to 50% off. Bro, I'm playing Marvel vs. Capcom the minute it comes out. I might be staying up till midnight to hopefully get to play it online at midnight. But I'm going to suck at it, just to let you guys know, because I haven't played in years. And I'm scared that we're going to go online and we're going to be playing people who have been playing nonstop for like the last 20 years. And I'm going to get my ass completely handed to me. But we will do it together, and we will see me get my ass handed to me on a regular basis. I actually think we're going to start by playing through the story mode because it's actually a pretty fun story mode. But after that, I do want to do some online matches to see what they're like on the Switch. Yeah, like 20-year veterans. Like there's infinite combos and shit in those games. I played it like super casually. I played it a lot. And I would beat all of my friends. But don't forget, back then there wasn't online play. So when I'm talking about all my friends, and we had a gaming room at college, and I had my PS2 set up in there with Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in it. And we would play like in between classes and crap. And I would beat everyone there. But that is still, there were no dedicated like fighting game fanatics that I knew personally. Like the closest to it was one of my friends named Matt. And we used to stay up till like 3 a.m. doing Street Fighter matches and Marvel versus Capcom matches. But still, we weren't like those insane like infinite combo guys. We were like very good casual players. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure if we went to a tournament, we would get our butts handed to us. But as casual players, we were like the S-tier casual players, which is pretty much like a D-tier tournament player. You know what I mean? Like the gap is wide between like that totally good casual player to like being a tournament player. It's like someone in Smash Brothers. It's like someone who plays Smash Brothers a lot but doesn't take the time to learn all the like crazy like mechanics and crap, like, you know, stuff that the game doesn't teach you. or like the frame data in Street Fighter. Like, bro, oh, that one's -3. That one's like +2. Bro, I don't give a crap about that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that kind of. I don't have that kind of time to put an energy into one game. I would if I didn't have the channel, most likely, but not anymore. But yeah. So yes, I am getting Marvel vs. Capcom. We're totally off subject again. I told you guys I'm trying to keep it within the time frame, but we're not going to get there. We're going to go over the 1.5 hour a bit. A bit. We have one other game from last week that I want to look at, and this one made me very, very happy when I saw the reviews coming in. Once again, this one I do sort of want to try to have time to play it or do something with it, but I don't think it's Crypt Custodian. Crypt Custodian is sitting at an 81. And once again, people are like, there's pretty decent places that reviewed it. Noisy Pixel, Nintendo Life. Noisy Pixel, very good reviewer on YouTube. I don't always agree with their scores, but they're generally pretty in it. 85 and Nintendo Life at an 80. And let's just once again read through Nintendo Life's really fast. You'll see it's a very good makeup. Overall, Crypt Custodian is a pretty traditional Metroidvania, elevated by its fantastic world, aesthetics, character, and soundtrack, with solid combat and a lot of build flexibility. These aspects all help alleviate some visual clutter issues and frame rate hiccups, ensuring that Crypt Custodian shouldn't end up lost in the eShop bargain bin like so many other Metroidvanias. So honestly, a very solid review for that, for an indie game. So if you've been wondering on the fence, maybe once again I'd wait for a sale for this one, because I think it was $20. I feel like saying it's somewhere around there. It's sitting somewhere around $20, the sales price. It is still looking like a very good game. So I'm definitely picking it up once it goes on sale. If I don't have time to play it live, because that's sort of like my way of acting right now. If I don't have time to play the game live or on stream, I wait till there's a sale. And I pick it at the same time as I put it on eShop deals. So I get an eShop deals, I'm like, hey, it's on sale. I grab it, play 15, 20 minutes of it. Okay, I understand the basics of the game. And we go on from there. Some of them I end up playing like 3 or 4 hours, because if I get into them, and that feels like a game that I'm going to play at least 3 or 4 hours before I put it down. But yeah, unfortunately, I wish I had time to finish them all. That often does not happen though. But there we go. So we will have that out of the way. So I do find, I hope you guys like this. I do want to return sometimes on some games that I did not have time to review. However, before we move on to anything, a little bit of shameless publicity for the channel. Hold on. We have a couple of... If you guys did not see, I just put out 3 different reviews over the last 2 days. So if you guys have not watched them yet and you had interest in the games, I put out the reviews for Shadow of the Ninja Reborn. I also put out the review for Minami Lane, and I also put out the review for Castaway. Now, Castaway we did play on stream, so some of you might have already seen a lot of it, but just shameless little plug here. If you're looking for game reviews, definitely Minami Lane and Shadow of the Ninja. Watch the reviews, but basically Shadow of the Ninja got an 8 out of 10. Super solid action platformer. Remake of an NES game. Minami Lane blew my mind away. For a $5 indie game, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I'm telling you, as a simulation game, that game is so satisfying to play. Now, it is fairly... Like, it's not content rich at $5, but at the same time, you can almost play it endlessly in sandbox mode. And it's just a super chill, satisfying game to play. And I can't see anyone who likes management, time management, build, and like like Park City Builders, that won't play the game and feel satisfied at $5. And I can't see at that price point how someone could ask for more. So, shameless plug, go watch the 3 reviews if you haven't. If you have any interest in any one of those games, they are all up on the channel starting today. Okay, now we get to our mainstay of the series, what will be there each and every week. We're going to be looking at the upcoming Nintendo Switch games. So we will be starting with September 3rd, which is going to be here in about 15 minutes for me. We have a game that we played on stream. We played the demo. There's a free demo available on the eShop, and that is Bakeru. Now, Bakeru is a game that already came out in Japan, so many reviews are already available. We already know it's a very solid game. I played through the demo on stream. It was a very, very fun demo. It is releasing to at September 3rd for $39.99. Right now, however, there is a pre-release discount at $35.99. And this is one of those rare situations where if you want to pick up the game, get the pre-release discount. There's no reason not to, because we already know it is a super solid game, since it's a game that came out in Japan a long time ago, and the demo is super solid. You can try out the demo yourself. It is available and whatnot. So let's take a look at the trailer. And, I think I gave pretty much all my thoughts on it, but we will nonetheless take a quick look.
This is the story of another Japan, a world different from the one you live in. Bakeru.
The only thing about this one was a little finicky.
World, fairy tale heroes actually exist. This is the story of Bakeru's first adventure in that world.
Oh, by the way, he's a tanuki. I love tanukis. The controls are also pretty responsive. Talking about Power Rangers, you can actually play this in the demo, but you actually get like a huge mech and when I played through the demo, I said it made me feel like, oh my god, it's like a Power Rangers stage. There's a lot of diverse gameplay modes.
Bakeru.
It's no Tiger Zord. No, man, it's definitely like you're right there. It's no Tiger Zord because it's better. It's like a Dragon Zord, man. The demo didn't click with you. Well, if the demo didn't click with you, then I would like hold off. no game's going to make everyone 100% happy. I found the demo clicked with me. And the one part of the demo that was maybe putting me off is I was like, oh my God, if all the levels are just platforming and slapping through. But then when I saw that there were shoot 'em up levels, that there were, you transform into the big robot, then and as you can see in the trailer, you have racing levels. Um, that's where really I was like, oh, okay. So they're gonna break it up. Like after every 3, 4 platformer levels, you're gonna get a shoot 'em up level, you're gonna get a racing level, you're gonna get a robot level, and that's what the game needed. Because when I saw 47 levels, I was like, oh my God, if I have to do 47 platforming levels like this in a row, it might have gotten tiresome. But at the same time, there's a free demo. Why not try it out? When there's a demo, there's no reason not to play the demo before buying the game. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason. Because exactly. So either you'll love it, you'll not love it. The one thing I was gonna say that was a little bit wonky about it is the camera is not that great. I find the camera, like nowadays there's a lot of 3D platformers that have solved those camera issues, and this one, like that's the one thing that sometimes annoyed me, is the camera was a little wonky. But other than that, super solid 3D action platformer. Price at $39.99 might be a little steep. Some of you might want to wait for a sale, maybe pick up a physical instead. And the invisible walls. Yes, I know some people bug the invisible walls. It's just like I said, with the way that the character moves, and because I talked about it during the demo, I can see why they did it. Because the character has some really erratic movement patterns, and with the design of the levels, and I know it's not like an excuse because you can just redesign the levels in a different way. There was no real way to design the levels in that way with not having people drop off the side of buildings all the time, in my opinion. Of course, you could have just never designed levels to be on the top of buildings, but they didn't probably want those restrictions, so they used invisible walls, which is the solution to all that. But yeah, some people really don't like that. But yes, the levels definitely have a narrow path, and there are invisible walls in some areas. Okay, so that was Bakeru releasing, like I said, September 3rd, $39.99. To me, if you want a really fun 3D action platformer for this week, this is going to be a really good one. Now, next, we are moving over to September 4th, and this is going to be a super budget pickup for this week because it is a game, once again, releasing at a full price of only $4.99, and it is called Mining Mechs. We're going to look at the gameplay trailer. It's a little, I don't fully understand what the gameplay loop is going to be here, but I just want to tell you before we get started, it is a game that is available on Steam, I think for even $2.99 or something around there, so even a little bit cheaper than on the Switch. And it's sitting at a 9 out of 10 after 1,500 reviews. When I looked at it quickly, it was sitting like at a 9 out of 10 for 1,500 reviews, which does point me to thinking that, ooh, this could be a really fun game. And yeah, it's $1.99. That is very possible. And don't forget that Steam is also region sensitive, so depending on what region you're looking for, it can be different prices. But let's take a look. So like I said, it's hard to grasp fully from the trailer, and this is maybe gonna be a little, sort of not complaint, but like message, and I've done this in the past. Um this trailer didn't really communicate the information accordingly. Like, when you end a trailer, you should get nonetheless a general idea of what type of gameplay you're looking at, but it seems to be like a sort of management exploration sim, where the point is to keep upgrading your drills to drill further and further, to get more and more resources, to then upgrade your drill even further and get more resources. And that's sort of like the gameplay loop here. Yeah, sort of a SteamWorld dig, but without the Metroidvania aspects. What really, really drove me, like, where I can't picture, is there's online multiplayer and co-op. Like they say it here. Online co-op multiplayer. And that's where I was like, oh, so you can play with friends and like what? Like try to like, that's where I'm like trying to wrap my head around. And at first, when I looked at the trailer, I almost didn't put it on this week's list. Till for fun, I checked out if it did exist on Steam, and then I saw that it was sitting on Steam, like at like I said, look, mining mechs. Yeah, see, it's $2.99, and it's sitting at like a 9 out of 10. Where's the reviews? I always look at the you see it here, there, that it's basically sitting at 9 out of 10 for 1,503 reviews. So I'm like, oh wait, this might be worth checking out for this week. Now, I don't think I'll have time to check it out for this week myself, but this should definitely be on your radar. Hopefully there are going to be some reviews are available. This might be a game I come back to next week, although I feel like as a budget pickup, sorry, my bad. As a budget pickup, I think that is going to be something decent for this week. Now, next, we move on to Shogun Showdown, which is releasing on September 5th. However, this one at a price tag of $14.99. Oh, there is a Switch version. If it's coming out on, I'm showing you this because it's coming out on Switch. I'm just saying that basically what I'm depending on to say that it was going to be a decent game is the fact that it was already on Steam before, and that it was very well received on Steam. So and it doesn't look like a game that's going to have like performance issues on the Switch. So it most likely is going to turn out to be a very fun game on the Switch. Now, next we have Shogun Showdown coming out on September 5th, $14.99. Now, this is a roguelike card-based game, RPG card-based game. So we have a roguelike card-based RPG. And honestly, I'm digging the pixel art. The only thing is we have a lot of card-based roguelike RPGs right now on the Switch. Is this going to be one of the top ones? I don't know, because we have Darkest Dungeon 2 that came out like not too long ago. So are you going to place this before that? I don't think so. But if you're looking for something more pixel arty that maybe is a little bit simpler, not as deep, I think this one looks interesting for this week. Once again, I would maybe wait for a few reviews, especially that it's at a $15 price point. to see if it has the gameplay to show up for this. But I'm gonna be honest, it looks interesting. And oddly enough, this last little section of combat, and that's why I sort of like grabbed my mouse, is probably the best part of the whole trailer. And I'm like, dude, why did you guys wait till like 5 seconds till the end of the trailer to show us this like fight sequence? Because it looked freaking badass. Let's just rewatch that for a second. Like, I'm not sure how it works, but apparently you can like, it seems like you can combo the cards together. So even though it's turn-based, you can actually combo them. No, Rodrigo, I haven't had time to try Balatro yet, but trust me, I will. Like, it's on my must-play Switch games, but it's like I told you, right now, if I'm not reviewing it or playing it on stream, it's not worth me putting time into just because I'm out of time for even, like, I was supposed to have a deals video out today, and as you guys can see, it's not out. I'm hopefully going to push it out tomorrow, but I'm in that kind of scenario right now. You know what I mean? Where, like, if I'm not playing a game for the channel, I'm not playing the game. And I know it sort of sucks on the personal end, but it's got to be like that. It's got to be like that right now. Okay. So next, we are moving on to, why do I not have the date on this? God dang it. Give me a sec, guys. You know, when you prepare your sheet, but you don't double check it. September 5th. Okay, so our next game is going to be also for September 5th. However, this one has a sales price of $24.99. So although the game looks really good, and we'll be looking at it in a few seconds, I do find the price point being a little stiff on this one. We're going to look at it nonetheless. It is called Gimmick 2, and we're going to talk about it right away after. Don't worry, this is not the game. Not too. That's what I have a feeling to grovel. Okay, so we have Gimmick 2. So we have a very Kirby-esque 2D action platformer. Once again, I do think the gameplay looks very interesting. It looks very solid. Yes, the gameplay looks very much fun. I personally do like the art style that they took here because, like I said, it's trying to be very Kirby-esque. However, it does look maybe a tad harder than a 2D Kirby game. Obviously, I'm going off of feeling here. Now, I did check out the reviews because this is Gimmick 2. So I did check out the reviews for Gimmick 1, you know, and this is sort of how I choose games normally when I want to review games and whatnot. I try to put do an educated guess on the games. And when I checked out Gimmick 1, it was sitting at a, it was sitting at a Metacritic of 77. So if Gimmick 1 was almost tapping an 80, you know what? There's a good chance that Gimmick 2, if it can keep solid gameplay, we might be looking at a very solid 2D action platformer. Now, like I said, the one problem is the $24.99 sales price puts it in a very competitive category. Okay? It's like it's putting it in a category of like a A-tier indie game. To me, like indie games, 0 to 10 is like budget, 10 to 20 is like quality, 20 to 30 is like those, like the triple I games. You know what I mean? Like you have triple A for triple A games. Well, triple I is for indie games, but the indie games that are really like top notch. And then you have the indie games that are above $30 that are just should most likely not be there except for very exceptional cases. Like maybe one is SteamWorld Heist 2. Okay, it can be $40, but I do think it was like it's a little it's pushing the limit for an indie game. Exactly, over £20 is triple I. Like over $20 US for me is triple I. And you know, the very, very rare exception can go up to 35 or 40, but we're talking about like trusted IP, major developer, fantastic game. And even at that, it's pushing it on the indie scene for me. But yeah. So nonetheless, I think it's something to keep an eye out on if you're looking for a platformer like this on the Nintendo Switch. However, sorry again, it's one of those that you might want to wait for a discount or a sale, because even though it looks good, I don't think anyone is dying to play that game like day one. Oh, very soon, very soon. Iron Meat reviewer live stream very soon. I've played through most of the game already. I kept playing it off stream the other night. I came back down late at night and I kept playing it. So, I honestly, that is a amazing game. We played it. If you missed Jose, if you watched last Friday's stream, the last half hour, it's actually Iron Meat. We play the first 3 levels of Iron Meat in the last half hour of the stream. So if you want to check it out, you can just like skip right to the last half hour and I didn't put it in the title because I'm most likely going to do another stream for Iron Meat, and I didn't want people being confused between having 2 streams with the Iron Meat title on it. So but it's there. Okay, now let's jump to the September 6th with the Ace Attorney Investigations collection. So this is another series from the Ace Attorney series, but following a side character. This one is going to be $39.99 for the pack of 2 games. You're right there. I thought they were called. Yeah, you're right there, Champ. I messed up. I thought they were following the investigator this time. I misread the description of the game, and you are totally right. So yeah, it is following Miles once again, which is the main protagonist. So my bad. My bad. I misread the description. I actually reread the description as when you said that, and I'm like, wait, did I read it? And then I'm like, exactly. Basically, the way I thought is that you were following around the investigator this time rather than the prosecutor, but messed up. My bad. Sorry about that. Correction issued. We are following around Miles once again. But shows you that I didn't watch the trailer before we started tonight's show, because I tried to watch some of the trailers, but not all of them, to make sure that at least some of them is fresh for me too. And Ace Attorney was a given. I didn't need to watch the trailer before. I knew it was going to be in the list. And we have one last game for this week. This is why I said we were going to be in the timeline. We're not that bad. We're 10 minutes over only, because we only have one more game to look at for this week. Because, you know, as I said, the other games this week did not catch my eye, did not look like they were necessarily going to be stellar games. I could be wrong. Maybe another one will surprise me, like it happened a couple of weeks ago. But now we are going to be looking at Aero the Acrobat 2, that is going to be releasing also on September 6th for only $5.99. Now, we played Aero the Acrobat 1 on stream. I think I did a review, maybe. Did I do a review? No, I think we just played it on stream. I didn't have time to do the review on top of it. I wanted to, but I didn't have time to do the review. So we didn't do the review after we played it, but Aero Acrobat 2 is the follow-up. It is a port of a retro game from the 90s. We're going to take a look at it. It is fun game. The first one was fun gameplay. The second one, theoretically, was smoother gameplay. So it's going to be a port of the game, a retro game from the 90s. It's actually, yes, it is super hard. It's like the first one. The first one, these are super hard platformers from the 90s. But if they did like the previous one, is that there are save states now. There are things that you can actually put unlimited lives that actually make the games doable. Like the first one, I never finished it on classically, because it was just so hard, and when you lose all your lives you had to restart from the beginning. But now with the unlimited lives and the glitches that you have in the game, like it just brings the game up to modern standards. Because you know how nowadays, like most games don't use the live system anymore. Why? Because that was just extremely punishing for no reason. Losing all your progress because you run out of lives and having to start from the start just didn't make sense when you're not in a arcade format. Like the lives idea, by the way, was a holdover in the 80s and 90s from arcade games. Because in arcades, you want to make sure the person dumps coins in. So what happens is that if you run out of lives, well, you got to dump more coins in. And by having them start over from the start, you're making sure that the only way they can finish it is by dumping more coins in. So, but there's no point in having that in a lot of modern games. And the more I get, like, I play games, the more I realize that, like, just throwing that in there to make a game feel retro, exactly, it artificially lengthened the games. but nowadays it just becomes frustrating for players. But either way, I'm pretty sure Aero the Acrobat is going to come with similar options. I would say from my recollections, because we're talking about like 30-year-old memories, Aero the Acrobat was smoother than the first one from my recollection. So the first one, the one thing is that the hitboxes and the controls were really wonky. The second one still had wonky hitboxes, but to my recollection, the controls started getting a little better, more responsive, more quicker to answer. And you're right, it gives you a feeling of Sonic, but the controls are very different than Sonic. Just to let you know, there's an overall feeling of Sonic, but it is much more. The platforming is much more precise and much more intentional. You know how Sonic, you sort of run always to the right and you can sort of make your way through levels in different ways. Aero the Acrobat, it's like you've gotta know what you're doing at all times. Astrobot is also coming out on the 6th. Honestly, I'm really interested in playing that game. You are right. It is one. The only thing is that right now, with how it's looking, is I want to play Black Myth Wukong before I play anything else. Like, if I play a game that is not Elden Ring or a Switch game, it is going to be Black Myth Wukong. The next non-Switch game I'm going to play is going to be Black Myth Wukong because that game looks amazing. I'm like drooling over the gameplay. I'm watching people playing it on Twitch and I'm like, oh my god, I want to play this game. But honestly, I don't have time. And on top of it, it's an expensive game. And there's no physical for it right now. If it was a physical on PlayStation for a full price game, I would probably drop the cash, but I just feel like once again, like any other game, I can probably wait a few months, pick it up on sale, and finally actually have time to play it. Because I'm expecting around January I'm gonna have time to play a few games that are not for, well, or we could stream game. We could actually stream it at that point. But because January, February is probably gonna be deader for the Switch this year, or we're going to be directly on the run up to Switch 2, maybe. Yeah, I need to quit my job so I have more time to play games. I would just honestly, the worst is I wouldn't actually play games that like other than for the channel. If I quit my job to play more games, we would just be getting more reviews and more deal videos even more often. You know what I mean? There would probably be like a week or two where I would just go crazy, yes, like playing games that I wanted to play and doing whatever I want. But once that initial like 2 weeks of like, okay, now I've got to settle down would kick in, I would make myself a schedule. Like, because like if I stopped and I did YouTube, I would really approach it like a job. You know what I mean? Like I would schedule like a minimum of like 6 hours a day of like, this is work time. So I'm either playing a game for the channel or I'm producing content for the channel for this 6 hours. And, minimum of 5 to 6 days a week, that would be what would be happening. And I think you have to do that. Like if you're a full-time creator, you have to do that because it is way too easy to just, fall off the rails and start doing whatever. But because like right now, that's the only way I get to make videos is I have like scheduled time. The only problem right now is that scheduled time is so small, and as soon as something unpredictable happens, I lose a whole huge chunk of it. Like if there's an appointment for a kid, or there's a birthday party for someone on the weekend, or there's something like that, like I lose like half my production time sometimes in a week, which is why sometimes videos get sidetracked and stuff like that. But yeah, that's just life is life, and that's how things go sometimes. And I'm not saying that if I was doing this full time, I wouldn't occasionally, if it made sense, be able to take an extra day off or something. Sure, especially during quieter times of the year. But I think I would like, yeah. It's some people underrate how much time you have to put in to produce content and quality content. And like I consider my content okay, but if I was doing it full time, I would try to kick up the quality if even higher. Either the quality or just the quantity. You know what I mean? It's like either I start going absolutely nuts reviewing like a game every day or second day, or just try to like go extra ham on like the editing and stuff. And honestly, one day I wish I could hire an editor, because personally, it's probably the part of the whole process that I like the least, is having to edit videos. Oh my god. Like, I like coming up with the ideas, I like filming the videos, I like giving my thoughts and writing the videos, but editing the videos is always like the grueling part. Like, I have actually 2 reviews that I recorded that just never got edited. And they're probably never going to get edited over the last like 3 months. Like, there's more than that, but over the last 3 months, there's 2 videos fully recorded. Everything was good to go, just never got around to editing them, and they're probably never going to get edited because by now the games are irrelevant. Like, they were small indie games that came out like 3 months ago. But yeah. It's just that when you're a small channel, paying an editor isn't worth it. Like, you know, like right now, there, if I paid an editor, like, it just would not be worth it anymore to make half the videos I make, especially the fun ones that like get less views. But that's that. So, open table for the last 10 minutes before we end the stream. Is there anyone that wants to talk about anything specific? We talked about Concord last week, so we're not going to go back on Concord. I watched how I said it last week, and I don't think the message... Well, I said what I had to say, but I got a little too careful. I should have just said, like, right out that awful character designs. Like, and I should have actually showed the character designs, and versus like a game that people want to play, and made the point I wanted to make. But yeah, PS5 Pro. Can we talk about Beetleborgs? No, we cannot talk about Beetleborgs. PS5 Pro, no disk drive. That is god freaking awful. Like, if isn't it, is it official no disk drive, or is it just you have to buy it separate? I honestly, I saw something about that, but I didn't. I can't really talk about it because I'm not. Let me just see. Because I see all rumors, but I don't see anything official that confirms it. Because what I heard, just to let you know, is that the base console will come without a disk drive, but you have to buy an attachment separate. Yeah. But apparently the system is not necessary. Okay. 2 takes on this. And one take is going to be a very like, okay, let's do this. I know why they're doing it. From a production standpoint, it makes a ton of sense. However, obviously, from a consumer's perspective, it's going to suck. Okay? But producing 2 completely separate consoles, okay? Sony realized it was a super bad move. Personally, even Xbox with their whole Series X and Series S thing, I think realized it was a bad move. Number 1, it confuses people. And number 2, it makes one of the 2 systems a shelf warmer. Because everyone wants the better system. Especially when you're already spending $500. What's an extra $50, $80, or $100? And I know money's money, But I'm just saying, you're already dropping $500. How many people wouldn't say, like, why not? Because a game's $60. If the better system is like $100 less, that's like one and a half game more. So it's not that big of a difference from a perspective of someone who's already dropping the money on the base system. Now, why am I saying this? Because the digital versions of consoles often end up being shelf warmers. Some people will buy them, but most people just want the disk drive version. By selling the two separately, it's that PlayStation can produce only one console, one accessory, and you don't have a shelf warmer anymore. Yeah, the box advertising was wrong. I think they were doing a play on words that it was going to be 8K ready for video. Because I do think that Sony was going to make a push for 8K video in the PS5's lifetime, and that's why they wanted the 8K on there. But yeah, they shouldn't have done that. They just shouldn't have done that. That was just stupid. Okay, that was just stupid, and like it 120 FPS is like, anyway. But yeah, so from a production standpoint, this is pure, like, let's turn our gamer brain off and just think of it from a company perspective that needs to make money and needs to make sure that the systems are on the shelves, and that we don't have a replay of PlayStation 5 where everyone buys up one type of the console and the only type of the console that you can pick up is the one that no one wants. Okay, because that's what happened. You, at least here, you could find PS5s, but the ones without like the digital onlys. Just like Xbox, you could buy as many Series S's as you wanted because no one was picking them up, but not. Oh, we have sorry, almost missed it. Rodrigo with a donation of 2,200 of his local currency. Thank you so much, my friend. That is extremely, extremely appreciated. Love it, dude. Love it. And we have Tagade celebrating his 19-month channel supporter. Hey, Maple family, welcome back, Tagade. Glad to see you here, my man. Glad to see you here. But yeah, so if we just turn off our gamer brains and we just talk about this from a pure company perspective, this is why. They need to produce one only console. And to be honest, it feels expensive. It is expensive, but that's the way it's going to be. And the PS5 Pro to begin with was going to be more expensive even without a disk drive. And now what they did is they made the attachment. And I'm actually going to tell you, like, from a gamer's perspective, it sucks because it's more money. But I'm not sure that if they would have put the disk drive in the system would have been that much cheaper than the combination of buying both separately. And at least you can guarantee that there are going to be, it's most likely going to be insanely easier to get a PS5 Pro than it was to get the PS5. And at the same time, exactly, do you need to get the PS5 Pro is going to be another question. Personally, I don't feel that we've seen games that have really pushed the barriers of what the current PS5 can do. And I feel like the PS5 Pro, like refresh, whatever you want to call it, is a little bit of phoned in. You know what I mean? Because I'm not sure, like, I think they're trying to brute force what developers aren't able to just be better at developing the game. Because I think a lot of what the games could do now would be better through optimization. Oh my God, Frenchy Mom has gifted 5 Maple Syrup Gaming and Tech memberships. Thank you so much, Frenchy Mom. So appreciated. Thank you, guys. That's it's awesome. Thank you so much. So Anthony Nelson was gifted one. Wes Blakely, Nexus Creed, Better Late Than Never, and Javier Nunez. Welcome to being members of the channel. So we're gonna get some pop-offs on the screen for the next couple of minutes because you're all gonna pop one after the other. But that is really, really cool. Thank you so much, Frenchy Mom. So yeah, so that would played Minami, haven't pet a kitty yet. It happens in mission 3. You need to get to mission 3 if I'm not mistaken, Tagade. It's one of the mechanics that unlocks. It unlocks after the second, or it's either in the second or the third mission. The petting kitty unlocks. Promise you it's there, my man. Promise you it's there. Yeah, no, but some games are. So I really do think it's a question of optimization currently. Like, instead of trying to brute force it by just pushing the system bigger, yeah, the developer should just get better at optimizing for the system. That is my take on it, because if you compare it to the games don't feel that much like they are better than they were on the PS4. Don't get me wrong, but when you look at it, it doesn't feel like it should be that much harder. Although 4K is extremely hard to push. Have you guys ever seen a comparison chart, like how many more pixels there are between 720p to 1080p and 1080p to like 4K? Like how many X times it's a jump to go to both? Hold on. Chart comparing. I don't know if we can find one really quick. Resolutions in pixels. I don't know if we're gonna. I don't know if this is what. Okay, this is a list of that, but I want to know how many. I found a super good chart at one point that basically gives you like going from like 720p to 1080p was going like 60% more. Like basically a graphics card or it had to produce like 60 times more pixels or more information. But then going from 1080p to 4K, I think it was 4x or 8x. You know what I mean? And that's why systems are having so much difficulty with 4K, is the jump is like 8 times bigger between 720p to 1080p and then 1440p and then going to 4K. It's like, hold on. Or wait, we can do this a different way. How many pixels in 4K? Okay, so 4K is 8.3 million pixels. Let's just get a notepad out. We can do it ourselves. 8.3 million. Like, I know people say, we don't get why 8K doesn't work. And I'm not, like, this is not to defend that it is... This is not to defend developers or whatnot. It's just so you guys see the jump that happens between the different. Because, like, don't forget that you have to think of it in, like, square, like... So 2.07 and then 720. 921, 600,000. Okay. So, boom. Just like, because don't forget, like I'm a computer geek. Before I was a Nintendo YouTuber and all that stuff, I was a computer geek. So, this is 720p. This is 1080p, because some people forget that HD was once considered 720p. Okay, HD was considered 720p. Then they came out with which was called full HD, which was the 1080p. Okay, so we once upon a time had something called HD versus full HD. Okay, until I sold out. Yeah. No, until I saw the light and I was able to play a portable console, even with kids, when I had time, when I that didn't need a TV or didn't need to be sitting down at a desk, and I could like sit on the couch with a Switch in my hand and actually get back into gaming. So if you look at 720p to 1080p, it was only it was like a ×2 jump. So this was actually a pretty big jump. However, it was a ×2 jump. So your whatever system you were using had to manage to produce double the pixels at the same rate. Annie M has become a channel supporter. Congrats, Annie M. Thank you so much for becoming a channel supporter. Exactly. And the Switch still plays at 720p when you're picking it up in handheld mode. Then the jump to 1440 was only 1.6 times bigger. So it wasn't even a 2x jump to 1440p, which is why this jump was actually pretty freaking easy. Most hardware that could do very well at 1080p started doing pretty decent at 1440p as well. But then 4K came around. And 4K is 4 times bigger than 1080p. And the reason I'm comparing to 1080p is that for the longest time, the targeted resolution for most hardware for producing graphics was 1080p. And then all of a sudden, you're saying that that hardware has to perform 4 times more efficiently without drawing more power, because more power means more heat. More heat means more fans, means more noise. Okay, I'm just sort of extrapolating all the different things. The reality is, it's not that the hardware can't exist to get the 4K. It's that if you don't want your system to be like, you already find a PS5 is big. If you don't want the PS5 to be the size of an arcade cabinet and have like 20 fans on it to keep it cool, and I'm exaggerating, but you understand what I'm trying to communicate here, is that trying to find a small box that doesn't make a lot of fan noise that can push out 4K is not an obvious task. Because I would even say that without making the systems bigger, if you could plug, if people wouldn't mind that that they sounded like a jet engine with the fans when it started spinning, it could be easily doable. It could be doable. And the reason I know this is that some of the best graphics cards in the world for computers that do make these crazy sounds can push 4K at 60 FPS no problem. And the only reason it actually has problems on computer is that games on computer are very under-optimized. If you don't know, like, because computer games, why do you think so many computer games crash regularly and have problems? It's because computer games have to be optimized for a variety of different hardwares. The development for a system like the PS5, Xbox, Switch doesn't have those issues because you only have one set of hardware you're optimizing for, which is why, like I said earlier, I do think that before we start brute forcing our way to 60 FPS 4K, you should just get developers to optimize the games better. Okay? Because if you don't do that, you just get lazy development teams that just say like, oh, well, we don't need to get better or optimize better. We're just going to wait till someone brute forces it. But yeah, that is just just to show you guys what the jump was from 1080p. And look, it's even more than 2 times 1440. So like it's an even bigger jump than when it was back here. It's like an insane jump, 4K. And honestly, like, yeah, me too. 4K 30 FPS. Look, I'll tell you something else. A lot of games would be better off locking themselves at 30 FPS than have fluctuating FPSs between 60 and 40. Why? Because when you have fluctuating FPSs, it makes the game stutter and look even worse than if they were just capped at a steady 30. And that is another thing. Like, I personally, on my Steam Deck, I cap everything at 30. I don't want fluctuating FPSs. You will die to fluctuating FPSs way more than you will die to, like, a 30 FPS steady rather than a 60 FPS steady. Like, I know some people are like, oh no, you can't play Elden Ring on 30 FPS. Bruh, you can play it. Like, yes, your reaction time will be a little less smooth, but it's still very doable. If the next Switch is 8 inches, there's absolutely no need for it to have a 4K screen. No, it's not going to have a 4K screen on it, for sure. It's going to be an upscaled. Honestly, if you guys think the Switch will have, and this is no diss to anybody, if you guys think there's going to be a 4K screen on the Switch, you're dreaming. It's never going to do 4K in handheld. Number one, at that size of screen, it's not even worth it. A 4K screen at that size is not even worth it. It might even still be at 720p in handheld, and it'll still be fine. Still be fine. If it can run everything at a good 720p, it'll be fine. And the upscaling is going to come from the dock. The upscale is going to come from the dock. That's why when everyone went crazy that there's going to be a fan on the dock and it's going to be like this wireless, no, it's a fan on the dock for the upscaler. Most likely the fan on the dock will be for the upscaling. Most likely it's going to need active cooling, or it's just going to be extra cooling for the Switch when it's in dock mode because it's going to run at a higher amperage when it's in the dock, and it's going to be like a pass through. The fan is going to suck air from the Switch out. It's going to be like a pass through fan. But it's going to be an LCD screen. I wouldn't be surprised that we won't see the same thing as Switch 1, where it's going to be LCD and then we'll see an OLED upgrade down the line. And look, it's pure for costs. If you don't want the next Switch being like $500 when it comes out, it's for cost cutting. It's for cost cutting. The LCD screen is going to be the easy route to begin with. And it's not like, would I love to see OLED? Yeah, but I don't want to pay a $500 Switch either. And when the parts are going to be cheaper in a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, we might see a refresh with the OLED like we saw for the current Switch. Well, so that was going to be the show for tonight, everyone. We're actually finishing before 1 a.m., which is a freaking miracle. I did go over by 45 minutes, but a lot better than before. We're getting there. We're smoothing things out. I just got to talk less. I just gotta rein it in sometimes. But when I want to talk about something like good, I can't help it. I just can't help it. Thank you. Great stream. Thank you so much. It's appreciated. I'm trying to make this better and better every week, more interesting, more dynamic. Find like stories that are a little bit more fun, you know what I mean, rather than like whatnot. But I had a ton of fun with all of you tonight. Thank you so much for the donations, the new members. It's so great. I'm so happy. But I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And, thank you so much for showing up each and every week for those. And as usual, I hope I'll see all of you guys in my next video. Have a great one, guys. See you soon. Hopefully, we'll come up with a surprise Iron Meat stream. I'm going to try to find some time this week.